We are going to start. I'm really sorry that you have to walk so far. I'm really sorry that you have to walk so far or run so far, but I find it a little difficult to imagine. It will take you 15 minutes to get here. So you must, I'll have a talk with Dr. Gray and ask him to stop just a minute earlier, which may be enable you to get here on time. You're not supposed to stop by the meal seat for vital water or anything like that. Okay, this is not going to work because I need these lights to be off. Not doing well. And I can't see anything, so I'm going to assume you can't either. One person of Ryan. That's all the way. Right, here we go. So, we have to talk about arrays. Arrays are the next step in our evolution. So, if you come in late, you must be quiet. If you come in late, you must be quiet, please. Okay? Quiet. Come on, guys. So, it's not fair that we lose 10 minutes of this lecture every time. So, I may have to talk to Dr. Gray, but it's also impossible for you to take 15 minutes to get across campus. If I can do it in 10 minutes and I'm older and overweight, then you guys must surely be able to do it much more quickly. You're young. Your brains are empty. You can run fast. Your muscles are subtle and you're all sexed up. You have hormones cruising through your veins into your little I don't know, corpuscles. Right, so let's not waste time. We have to talk about arrays. It's the next step. We've done this primitive stuff, and in fact, this is where we started, and we haven't done text IO. In fact, we should, and we will today if we have enough time. Conditionals and loops we've done, and I know you're not perfectly comfortable. I still owe you some quizzes that I promised to put up, but to be honest, you mustn't rely on those. You can make your own quizzes. In fact, maybe we should have a little competition. Okay, right. If you want to get to graphics and sound and image I/O, we need to go through arrays first. And in fact, arrays is kind of the last thing, the last concept that we learn about in computer science in this course. All the other stuff, there's a little bit of this and that, but fundamentally, arrays is the last piece of the puzzle. I've told you can write any program you want, but that's not kind of strictly true. So, what's the idea of arrays? If we wanted to handle a lot of data, like 1 million samples in an MP3 file, who is prepared to declare 1 million variables to store the samples? Not even for a joke. Or 4 billion nucleotides in the DNA strand. This is the amount of data we want to manipulate. So we have to find a way to store all of that in boxes, in variables. And we're not going to declare all of them. So that's why we need arrays. Arrays will give us this ability. I am recording, yes. And my new microphone is coming on Thursday, Amazon said. So then the audio and the video should be better as well. Come on, guys, you've just had the whole way to talk, to chat. You can at least listen to me. I'm the talent here. They're paying to hear me speak, not you.
He's for free.
What? And worth every cent. Okay, right. Now, this is what arrays are going to allow us to do. It's going to store a lot of stuff, like these names, and give each of them a number. And then instead of referring to each of them by the variable name, we're just going to say the first one, Wayne, or the second one, Doug. So we're going to use this indexing to get to our data. So this is what we had to do before, what you still had to do until a few seconds ago, before you realized that arrays existed. And that's to say, I want to store 10 doubles. So until a few moments ago, you thought you had to declare 10 double variables, 10 boxes for doubles. And is it the guy next door is chatting? Did you get lost?
Yeah.
Were you kidnapped? Abducted by aliens? Who's that guy? Where is he going? Oh, every day I lose another student who quits the course. Oh, wow. Okay, right. And then to put stuff in these boxes, we had to assign each of them, and then we could talk about A4 and A8, add them and put them in X. This is old school. New school is to say, well, you don't have to say this, but I'm going to start by saying n is equal to 10. It's just a placeholder for how many of these duplicate boxes I want. And then I'm going to say, I want A to be an array of doubles. And the way I say array in Java is to write the square brackets after the type. So these square brackets mean an array of a double array. And I want to call it A. So instead of making one box called A that can contain a double, Java is now going to make me a whole line of boxes called A. If I talk about A, I'm talking about the whole line of boxes. They're all identical in the sense that they all contain doubles. They're not identical in the sense that they all contain the same value. They all contain different values, but they're all doubles. How many of them are there? Well, anyone want to guess? Yes, somebody wants to guess. What is your guess? 11. 10. The truth is that I can zoom in. We can look at it very closely. Okay. No, it's not too much. Maybe a little. So the truth is that 11 is wrong, and so is 10. When I make this declaration, there are 0 boxes. No boxes at all. What I'm telling Java is that I want A to be a line of boxes, doubles, but they don't exist. They're not created yet. They're nowhere in memory. Java knows that A is a line of boxes, but it hasn't actually created the boxes yet. And that's why I must write the following line, which is assigned to A. So I'm putting a value inside A, which is the line of boxes, this whole formula. And honestly, it's just a formula. We're going to write this all the time. And does it have a meaning? Yeah, kind of vaguely. But for now, we're just going to assume that it's a for. Oh my God! Did you go here? Did you take an Uber? It would have been faster. I mustn't, because maybe the student had some kind of personal issue that he had to deal with. Tolerate. Okay. So up until this moment, A does not exist. It's a hypothetical line of boxes. When I do this, Java will actually create the boxes, and I have to tell it how many to create. So I'm asking Java to create a new double array, and n, which is 10, is the number I want. I could have put a real number in there. I could have put 20 to 0, or I can put n, or I can put n plus 1, or n minus 1, or 2 times n, or n plus m. Any expression that's an integer, it'll create that many boxes. So, in fact, n could have been a value I got from the command line. And the user could have said, I want you to make 20 boxes, and then I would have put that value in here, and John would have made 20 boxes. Okie dokie. Everybody happy until now? This isn't exactly mind-blown stuff. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, it's just new. Now, for loop. Instead of having to say a0 equals 1, a1 equals 1, a2 equals 1, I'm going to use a for loop, to work through my indexes, because I told you that I'm going to use indexes to get to the boxes. I, for int I, starts at 0, and while it's still less than 10, so less than n, so let's go up to 9, I post increment I every time, and what do I do inside my for loop? I put 0.0 inside a in square brackets I. So you can see that square brackets is all over the place when we're dealing with arrays. Up here, we used it to tell Java A is a double array. Up here, we used it to enclose the size and kind of say that it's a double array of the size. And now we're using it to address the individual elements. So AI is the ith element. I starts at 0, so this will be A0, A1, A2, A3, as the for loop increments or iterates until A9. And every time I assign 0.0 in this box. So AI is one of those boxes. It's the ith box in the line of boxes called A. Is everybody really happy about this? You can all handle this. Well, you've already read about it, so it's probably not big news. Just hearing me say it makes it real in a way that just reading about it doesn't. I realize that. Say again? I have the talent. I have the gift. That's what we call it, the gift. Okay. So it's very important that you develop the gift of programming arrays. So in this case, I'm saying double x, create a variable, a box called x. We'll store a double and put inside the sum of a4, whatever is in the fourth box, plus a8, whatever is in the eighth box. So the sum of those, I put in x. Okie dokie, so I assume that by now you are all array experts, having read all of this. What does this say? Declare, create, initialize in one statement. These are two statements, firstly. And secondly, yeah, we know we can do this. We've always been able to declare stuff and do an initial assignment in the same line. So just as before, I can say, I want a double array called A, and assign to that, create it. Create a new double array of size n. And then A is ready for use. Okay, let's speed up. Interesting stuff. Dot product. Who knows what the dot product is? One person, two people. Where did you learn about this, Ms. Miracle? AP Maths. I mean, advanced maths. No, in maths. Yeah. High school. What high school did you go to? Cambridge. Oh. Oh. Who else? You? No. You? Yes. Did you also do Cambridge? This morning in physics. Who else has physics? Who else attended the class? Did you not recall that you heard about the dot product this morning? Okay. Dot product is a really important operation, not only in physics, but in the whole of maths. It's a way of adding two vectors. And a vector is like a number, but two-dimensional. Excellent, yeah, but not everyone does physics. Some people do chemistry, and I have no idea of anything to do with physics. So, the vector is, instead of one number, it's a number with many components. It's like a coordinate. A set of coordinates is a vector of two components. And a three-dimensional coordinate is three components. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here. New notation, double X, double array X. So X will be an array, a line of boxes that contain doubles. They're called X. And that is equal, oh, what the hell. So now, instead of creating the array, I'm giving Java the values to put inside those boxes. So Java will automatically create the array. It sees that there are 3 values inside my little braces. So it makes 3 boxes, and it puts 0.3, 0.6, 0.1 inside each of the individual boxes. No, inside each of the respective boxes. And the same for Y. So now I've got 2 lines of boxes, 2 vectors, X and Y, and I want to calculate their dot product. Dot product is easy peasy. Take the components, matching components one by one, multiply them, and add them all together. Marco, do you have vectors in the US?
No.
Not even disease vectors? Everything's just no.
No.
Okay, right. Who's from another country except the US? Worcester is not a country, what? No, South Africa. I mean, it's a foreign country. It's from Namibia. Do you have vectors in Namibia? Where are you from? Yeah. Norway. There's no one in Norway from Norway in this class. Are you a new addition? Are you just visiting? What?
No.
From the start? Where in Norway are you from? Nordkapp. Alta. Tromsø. Next to? Arka. Or Alta. Arta. A-L-T-A. Alta. Okay. I've been to Alta. It may surprise you to know. I went there because it's also my mother's name. And actually I went to Nordkapp. So. There is nothing there. Are you really from Alta? Or close to it? I don't know what the city, I can't recall what the city next to it. I'll probably whisk through it. Alta is a tiny place in Norway, and there's nothing. There is like a fishing place, and they may have a coffee shop, I don't know. Garage. But the whole of Norway is depopulated. It's just full of fish and snow and ice. Is that correct? Yes. Did you register late? Or did I just miss you? Oh, okay. I couldn't possibly have missed somebody as exciting as Norway, or this source as exciting as Norway from my little list. So you have vectors in Norway? Of course you do. Okie dokie. Right. Let's just ask our American friends what language they speak in Norway.
I'm not going to say it.
How many languages does Norway have? Official languages. 12. Do you have 2 or 3? I guess you only have 2. Sami doesn't count. Norway has 2 languages. One is called Nynorsk, and one is called Bookmore. Is that correct? Just correct me if I'm wrong. And they're the same language, roughly. But for some reason, they just have 2 versions of one language. And half the newspapers are written in one, and half the newspapers are written in the other. And some people like one, and some people like it. It's a strange, really strange place. Okay, getting back to vectors. N is 3. That's right, because there are 3 components. We're going to loop 3 times, multiply each of the corresponding components, 1, 2, 3, and add the sum of their product. So we prepare sum to start off with 0, because we haven't added any yet. We have a for loop that goes from 0 up to just before n. And we say sum plus equals, that shortcut assignment we learned about on Friday, xi times yi. Now, I know it's easy to read, and when I say it, it sounds so authoritative and clear, but you must be able to write this kind of stuff. I may, in the exam, just ask you, given 2 vectors x and y of length n, their dot product is the sum of the products of the corresponding components. Write some code to implement this. And of course, it's easy peasy with dot product because you've just seen it. But what if I said the spot product, which is defined very differently, not yet entirely defined by me? It may be something entirely different that you have to implement. So it's very important that you make sure that you can generate this code and not just follow it and read it. I don't know what this is. What does it do? 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, product is that, and then here's the sum going at the end. So it's 0.25, but nobody wants to know about that. Did somebody raise their hand? Okay, just sunspot. Next slide. Next little thing we need to know about arrays is that we don't need to tell Java this array has a certain length. We can ask it. We may not know. Somebody may, in some sense, pass us an array that we haven't seen before, and we want to see how big it is. If all I know is that this is an array called A, and it exists, and I want to do stuff with it, I need to know how far my for loops must go. So given any array, I can always say, like here, x.length. So adding dot length to the name of an array, which I couldn't do before with just doubles, tells me how many elements there are in the array. So I didn't need to specify 3. And now when I need to modify this code, I can just add the components, new components here, and I don't have to change this line. The code below this line does not need to be modified for bigger arrays or smaller arrays. That's kind of goodish. Right. Creating an array of random values. I say A is a double. I'm saying it contains 10 elements, but maybe I want to change this 10 later on. So I'm not going to rely on the fact that I know that there are 10 now. If I change the code, I only have to change it in one place. I only have to change the 10. I don't have to change it in multiple places. So we'll often write this line. This line will be very frequent. So I starts at 0. I think there's feedback. While it's less than a.length or some array.length I++, and then I fill this ith slot of A with math.random. So some number between 0 and 1, I put it in that slot, so now I have a line of boxes, in fact in this case 10 of them, with 10 random values. I can't remember what's on these slides. Printing the values. A is some unspecified array of doubles. I write my little formula. Int I starts at 0, while I is less than a.length, I++, and do something with AI. In this case, I print it. What else is there that's exciting? Finding the maximum. Okay, good. A is some array, don't know how big. Max is, oh my god. So it says here, max is double dot negative infinity. So that is a constant that I have access to, just like math.pi and math.big E. And it is exactly what it says. It's negative infinity. So I have my little formula. I starts at 0. I is less than a.length, I++. And what do I do each time with each I? I check. If AI is more than max, I found a new max. Hey, AI, the IFA, is bigger than my previous record. So I'm going to store AI in max. I'm going to look at each of the elements, and every time it breaks a record, I record that record. And when I'm done with the array, I have the maximum value in the array. Yes, Justin.
So you just need to choose a number lower than any of the numbers inside the array.
Like what?
0 if it's positive.
What if there are negative values?
What did you know if there's negative values in your array?
What's inside A? I don't know either. That's why I chose negative infinity. But this isn't the best way of doing it.
Why are you showing us this way?
Because this is the introduction to the better way. We start small, we work our way up to the big stuff. I'm prepared to show you the important stuff. I hope that wasn't too negative. I don't want to discourage you. I know that I'm sometimes a little cutting in my remarks. Just being realistic, people. But I hope I don't discourage you from saying or asking stuff. It's important to me that you're engaged. And I find a little humor sometimes keep some of the slower students awake. And it's very important for me that you actively think and not read messages from your mother. Who is it from, though? Who is it to? Drop your cell phones. It's terrible. It's just distracting you. I know you think you can multitask, but you really can't. And we'll illustrate that on Wednesday with a knife juggling demonstration. Did I have asked your name? Oh, okay, then I should know it. Oh, damn it, I can't do this. I'm too old. I used to be able to memorize hundreds of names. Josh, Keegan, Marco, excuse me. I know, it's your name. Yeah, I know. Okay, right. So, please engage. Just pay attention and think to yourself, even if you think how lame I am and how much better you would have presented the class. But do engage. Ask me stuff like, is this the best way of doing it? What is the best way of doing it? Well, this is the best way of doing it. As you say, it's improved. Now, we don't start with negative infinity, because firstly, we didn't even know it existed until a few seconds ago. And plus, seems a little extreme, even though it isn't really. This will work for all kinds of data. So what I do is I start by saying the maximum in this array is definitely the first element. So I start by guessing that the very first element is the largest element in the array. And then I have a for loop that doesn't start at 0, although it could have, but it doesn't. It starts at 1. So I look at the next element. And I ask the same question. Is this next element AI, is it bigger than my current record, maximum? And if it's bigger, then I found a new maximum. So I put AI inside max. You can never underestimate how easy it is to misunderstand other people. So just to be clear, when I take AI and I put it inside max, when you stop doing that, it's broken. Accept it, let it go, man. When I assign AI to max, I'm putting the value that's inside AI in the max box. But I'm not taking the value out. It's still in AI as well. You know that, don't you? I really hope you do. So when I assign, nothing happens to the values on the right-hand side. I just look at them and see what they are. The only value I change is the one on the left-hand side, max in this case. So AI will say what it is. It's just I take a copy of that value and I put it inside max. The only exception, of course, is if max also appears on the right-hand side. Right here. Compute the average of the array values. Marks. Oh, I wonder whose marks this could be. Right. I start off by saying the sum of these marks is 0. Have a little for loop, works through the marks, add each mark I, to the sum, and right at the end, I divide sum by marks.length, however many there were. Okay, suddenly we have a little PTSD flashback about division that didn't quite work out before. So marks.length is definitely an integer, because I can only have an integer number of boxes. So I'm dividing by an integer. And now I have to be careful, because I know that in the past, integer divided by integer has caused issues. Doing integer division does not always give me the average. So if the sum of the marks are 10, but there were 20 marks, then 10 divided by 20 is 0. 20 goes 0 times into 10. But I really wanted 0.5. So I should be careful if I'm dividing two things and one is an integer or both are integers. In this case, I'm lucky because sum is a double. So sum is this double. Sum divided by integer, double divided by integer, jobbable up grade the integer to a double, and this will really be double divided by double. And that's my average. Anything else on this that's interesting? I'm just making a copy. You can all read. I'm reversing the elements in an array. Ooh! Exciting challenge. How long do I have? Hours. Good. Reverse. .java. Let's quickly write that. Public static, no. Public class reverse. Public static void main. While I'm typing this, I suddenly realize that I've been working with an array all this time. String array args, indeed, big reveal. String array args. So I have an array, a line of boxes containing strings, and I called them args until now. It will be in the future. And then when I talk about args0, args1, args2, I'm actually referencing each of those boxes. And that's how the args work. Who put them in there, we don't yet know.
So we implemented something else?
If you like, if you must. Okay. I want to reverse them. I'm not going to use them, so I don't mind what you call them. What I want to do is I want to reverse an array. So I'm quickly going to make one. Let's call it values. And let's put 1, 2, 3, 7, 4 in there. Reverse values. I don't yet know how to do that, but I'll just type that, cheating a little bit, and print values. Okay, so only those two tasks I want to accomplish. So I'm first going to do print values because I've already seen that in one of the slides and it's easy peasy. I want to print the values, so I'm going to write a for loop that works from the start to the end and print each one individually. So for int I equals 0, I less than values, what? Dot length, I plus plus. And with each value I system.out.println. Oh no, that's right. Values I. Everybody happy? Okay. You can write this in the spot test on Wednesday, surprise test. What? Won't be in this subject, but no, I'm fine. Okay. Now I've got to reverse it. Before we reverse it, let's just check if it works. I so often write code that doesn't come close to working. Will this compile? Okay, so you say, but checking up. Will this execute? Did I make some kind of horrible mistake? Will it print anything? Okay. Without hope we are nothing, but with hope we're pretty feeble as well. Okay, so fine, it seemed to work. 1, 2, 3, 7, 4. It worked fine. So of course it wasn't reversed. Okay, so how am I going to reverse it? I need a victim who doesn't know. Craig
Does know.
What is the name of the lady next to you?
This is Finny.
Finny?
Yeah.
Are you a class representative, Stephanie? Why do you sit all the class spread out so you can absorb the feeling of the whole class? That's
We have a
interesting.
sleeper agent in this.
Do we have a upcoming? We have upcoming meetings, but I'll send you the email. Stephanie, what do I do? Do you know?
I have an idea.
What's your idea?
Almost bubble sort.
Almost bubble sort, but not. What is bubble sort? I've never heard of it.
Bubble sort is like when you compare variables.
I just compare variables, yes?
Yeah, but you run two loops.
I run 2 loops. I've never done that before. Sounds naughty. Okay. Let's not go into bubble sort. Let's say that for the next slide. Okay. What's your plan? Conceptually, about reversing the array. Because when I do bubble sort, what the bubble action is swapping two elements that are next to each other. And we can do a swap. We've looked at that code the very first day. So that's one bubble. So what do you want me to bubble?
I have one like two swap the one with like all of them bottom and then split the shoe.
That sounds so
I feel like it would be a bad
much
idea.
work. I don't want to do that. Do you know? No. Well, no. Let's find another victim who does not know. You. What's the guy behind you called? Matt. Matt. Matt? Any ideas? None. What are you going to do in the test when I give you a similar task, where I ask you to rotate the whole array by a certain number of elements, and you don't know what to do? Try is help, but it's not going to be perfect. Yes, you are going to fail. That's the only thing you'll succeed at, failing. Here's Herbie. What will that change for? I see. Harry has a brilliant idea. He suggests that we cheat death by printing the values in the reverse order. But what I really want is to reverse them in the array. So I want to take whatever is in the last box and put it in the first box. And whatever is in the second box, put it in the second last box. So I want to physically reverse them. I do want to print them backwards, but I've already written the print function and it's too late to change it now. So the only option is to reverse the array. So I'm going to do exactly what I told you. I'm going to take the first box, A0, and swap it with the very last box, which is values.length minus 1. So essentially, I'm going to swap values 0 and values. You'll see that. And then I'm going to swap the second box, 1, and the second last box. And this box and that box. How many swaps do I have to perform? Well, there are n, let's say n elements, so, and I want to swap all of them. So I have to do this n times, don't I? Yes, I do. You just shut your mouth. I'm kidding. But it's so much fun to see what happens. So I'm just going to do this little loop. What's the time? We still have time for fun, yes. For I starts at 0, while I haven't found reached last element, swap values I and values, what's the other one called? Minus I minus 1. Do you agree? Because the 0, values minus 0 minus 1. The 1, values minus 1 minus 1, so it's minus 2. The 2, I swap with values minus 3, which is minus 2 minus 1. So I add an additional minus 1 there. And swapping is easy. We've done it millions of times. I'm sure you have at home. All the other people in the class can do this. You're the only one who can't. You'd better go home and practice this. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. You're going to make your parents cry. Okay, right. Yes, absolutely. That's I'll do it. I want you to enjoy learning stuff and make it exciting. I don't know if this is exciting, but it's on the way to exciting, I promise you. So, what's going to happen? I've just done all this hard work. I've swapped every single element, so it should now be reversed. But it's not, okay? Because as my name is tonight.
Lauren.
Lauren said, I've actually done all the work and then redid all the work. Once I got to the halfway mark, I've swapped all the elements behind me and all the elements in front of me. They've now been swapped, but I kept on going. I kept on going to the end of the array, swapping them back. So I swapped 0 and values of length minus 1 when I was at I equals 1. And then I swapped them again when I got to values of length minus 1, when I was equal to that. So I swapped those two elements twice. I should have stopped when I reached the middle, which is should be careful about division. If one is an integer and the other one's a double, I'll get a 0.5. But in this case, values.length is an integer, so I'm actually dividing by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10, so I only swap the first 10 elements with the last 10. 16 divided by 2 is 8, so I swap the first 8 with the last 8. But what happens if I have 13 elements?
That's still fine. Because
I'm swapping the first 6 with the last 6, but the 7th one I don't touch. Which is good, because it needs to stay where it is. I'm swapping it with itself, in some sense, not by not swapping it at all. I could have swapped it if I wanted, but for some twisted reason, I don't. Okay. So now we're only swapping half the elements. I starts at 0, goes up to the halfway mark, I does plus, and it's reversed. If you do not understand why I put this divided by 2, you have to catch up. If you do not understand why I could have added the equal sign for odd numbers, you need to catch up. What will happen if I add the equal sign? Nothing, because I'm still just swapping. The 3 will swap with itself, but that won't hurt, will it? Sometimes a little innocent thing like that just makes the code so much neater. 4, 5, and 6. There we go. So much neater. Uh-oh. 6, 5, 3, 4, 2, 1. That's not how they do the countdown in the Chinese missile launches, North Korean missile launches. Oh, so I've made a mistake. Equal sign is fine if there are odd number of elements, but now I put it back, or I put it in, and for even numbers, that extra iteration that I'm doing, swap just the middle 2 elements once too many. So it must be less than, okay. Now my time is up, so I'll quickly repeat in Afrikaans. It's so exciting, I don't know if I can do that, but, okay. Waar het ons gepraat? Ons het gekyk na skikkings, wat 'n manier is om baie veranderde iets op een slag te verklaar. Almal dieselfde tipe, ons het 'n langlynsbokse, kan almal dieselfde tipe inhou. So as ons kyk na hoe verklaar ons skikking, hoe kry ons die lengte van 'n skikking deur te sê x.length. Ons het gekyk na voorbeelde van hoe om dit te gebruik. So hoe kry ons die maksimum in 'n skikking? Hoe bereken ons die gemiddelde van 'n klomp double marks? Hoe vertoon ons hulle? Vul met random. Dis basies al waarna ons gekyk het. As jy meer Afrikaans wil hê, moet jy asseblief my sê. Ek gee om Afrikaans te praat. In die verlede, kom ek sê dit in Engels, want dit gaan die Engelse mense meer affekteer. In the past, this course was run differently. So I would do 1 week of Afrikaans and 1 week of English.
how did that work out well?
Because we had interpreters. And in the Afrikaans weeks, the English students all used the interpreter, and they seemed to enjoy it. And so did the students. And in the English week, nobody used the interpreters because Afrikaans people speak English very well. Say again? We can do it this way, but if anybody's unhappy about the amount of Afrikaans, as enigiemand meer Afrikaans wil hê, I can't say this in Norwegian. I can barely say. I can't say anything in Norwegian. What I know is that inte and ikke is the same word. But if you want me to use more Norwegian, you will speak up and we can arrange it. Okay, I'll see you again on tomorrow for some of you and on Wednesday for the rest.